Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything's good wherever you are. Um, Errol Spence, he's back this weekend. Errol Spence is confident he's going to knock out Yordenis Ugas. It's a great fight. It's a great fight. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to Errol Spence and Yordenis Ugas getting it on. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a good battle. I think it's going to be a great fight. One that I think I'm excited. I'm very excited for it. I think it's a fight which, to be honest with you, a lot of people are going to say Ugas because Ugas is the more politically connected fighter. He's a guy that's more well known. I'm sorry, a lot of people are going to get Errol Spence because Errol Spence is more politically connected. He's more well known. A lot of people have seen a lot of his fights. He's fought a lot of top guys, beaten a lot of top guys. So it's the easy answer to just say Errol Spence is going to win the fight. But with Yordenis Ugas, we have a Cuban who's a very skilled fighter. A guy that, just beat Manny Pacquiao. He's coming off a career high win. Very technically sound fighter. Generally Cubans are. He's long. He's langly. Good counter puncher. He's got a great jab. He can fight. On the inside, he's a top fighter. Ugas, top fighter, and I think Errol Spence. Look, Errol Spence can box, and Errol Spence can fight on the inside. He can, he's got great body work. We know how he throws those body shots that he throws. He's just a fundamentally sound fighter. He can box at range, and he can fight on the inside. He can become a pressure fighter when he wants to as well. So he's just a good all-around complete fighter for me, Errol Spence. And I think that gives him the edge against Ugas. But there's a lot of intangibles that we have to take into consideration. Errol Spence over the last couple of years has suffered a lot. And what I mean is he had an accident, which, he was very lucky in some people's eyes to even come out alive, let alone, continuing boxing. And then he's also suffered an eye injury, which obviously he was supposed to fight Manny Pacquiao and he suffered it in sparring. And a lot of people think that the eye injury is in link with his accident. Whether it is or not, Errol Spence has had a lot of, he's had a lot of injuries. He's had a lot of, the body's gone through a lot. Just put it that way. Then the inactivity on top of that, this is a guy that's probably fought once in probably 2 or 3 years. So that is never great. Like before he fought Danny Garcia, what was his last fight? I'm pretty sure it was Porter. And I'm pretty sure the Porter fight was 2019 because he had the Porter fight, I'm pretty sure, in 2019 because he had it before COVID. And then obviously we hit COVID and people were, they were stale, and then he had his accident. Then I believe he fought in 2020 at the end of it. So he's almost going to be out another 1.5 years. So in 3 years, he's probably had one fight, which, is it's not ideal for somebody of his level. For a guy that's a unified champion, it's just not ideal. So taking all things into account, that makes this fight a lot intriguing because, although Errol Spence came back against Danny Garcia and it looked pretty good, I don't know how much of that was down to the fact that Danny Garcia didn't force or push the fight like he should have. I think, his dad, Danny Garcia's dad, said that Danny Garcia could have, should have probably thrown more hands. He should have. I think Errol Spence's style was all wrong for Garcia, but I think Garcia made it pretty easy for him as well. I think Garcia is not the kind of fighter like Porter where he pressures you. If Garcia was a pressure fighter, it may have been interesting. I think Garcia waits, for you to make a mistake and then he counters. But Spence was just smart. He kept him at distance and he was very good with his jab. He has better footwork than Garcia, and I just think he kept it long and made it pretty easy for himself. Garcia didn't really have a lot of success in the fight. Ugas is different because Ugas is a better boxer than Danny Garcia. He's long and Langley. He's got a very good jab. He's got very good footwork. He's got a decent hand speed as well. So this makes this fight very intriguing, very interesting. Because Ugas, for me, is a lot more fundamentally sound and a lot more dangerous. I don't think Ugas is a big puncher, which obviously goes in Spence's favor. But I don't really think Spencer's really fought a lot of big punches, and there's not really a lot of huge punches in the welterweight division. What's the biggest puncher that Errol Spence has fought? Probably Kell Brook, and Kell Brook's not a big puncher either. So really, when you think about it, Errol Spence, as good as he is, I don't think he's fought anybody on the level of... Look, he fought Mikey Garcia, but again, he hasn't fought anybody on the level of Terence Crawford, a fight that we want to see. We all want to see. That will, for me, that will show how good Errol Spence really is. But I also think this fight will show how good Errol Spence is, because for me, Ugas is a very, very good boxer. And I see this being a very, very dangerous fight and a potential banana skinner. I wouldn't be shocked if Ugas pulls this off. Just because of all of the things I've mentioned. I think Errol Spence has been through a lot. I think he's been through a hell of a lot. And whether Errol Spence is going to be the same guy, that we'll have to wait and see. But I'm not convinced. I'm not sure whether he is going to be that same guy. Hence why I'm not really sure how he's gonna be. Because with suffering, with your body going through all of that, eye injury, the accident, inactivity, and fighting a guy like Ugas who's so good, I don't know if he's going to win this fight. I think time will tell if he manages to put in a performance like he did against Garcia. Or was it the fact that Garcia's style made Errol Spence look much better? Nevertheless, Garcia's still a top contender, and he beat him pretty well. But I'm not sure about this fight. I'm not sure. I think this is going to be a very close fight. I do. I think it's going to be very close, and I won't be surprised if it's a split decision either way. When you look at Errol Spence's fights, generally against the top guys, they have been pretty close. When he fought Kell Brook, it was pretty close. He started distancing himself from Kell Brook in that fight, and then he stopped Kell Brook. But early on, Kell Brook was having a lot of success. You look at the Porter fight, it was also very close, and Porter had a lot of success, and there was a split decision, I believe. And he's won the fights against Garcia pretty comfortably, but Garcia is not really a 147 pounder, and he beat Danny Garcia as well. So he's had some good wins. Mikey, Danny, and Kell Brook, he won pretty convincingly. He stopped Kell Brook, he beat Mikey pretty easily, and beat Danny Garcia pretty easily. But I think Ugas might be the best guy that he's gonna fight, possibly. I think Ugas is Ugas is a really good boxer. I think he might be the best boxer that he's fought so far. I think Ugas's movement, Ugas's hand speed, I think could be a problem. But again, and also Ugas is long. He's tall. So that's gonna be an issue as well. That's not gonna be easy for Spence as well. Ugas has got a huge, he's tall, got good reach. So yeah, you could, let's see, man. Ugas might be able to outbox Spence in this fight. But the only problem is with Ugas doesn't really have the power. So you can see somewhere along the fight where Errol Spence starts to become a pressure fighter, trying to wear Ugas down, and Ugas is 36 years of age, so maybe the younger Spence might be able to, wear Ugas down later on in the fight, possibly, But it's an interesting matchup. I'm kind of not really sure who's gonna win. It's one of them, because I think obviously if Spence was at his best, I'd pick Spence. But as of right now, I'm not sure, because I don't know what Spence has got left. I don't know whether Spence is the same Spence. I know they're all good signs, and he's looking good in training, but I don't know. Errol Spence has been through a lot over the last couple of years. So again, I think it's hard because of that to make a conclusive call. I think I'm edging towards Spence, but I don't know. It's a proper 50-50. I think Ugas might win it on split decision. I generally don't know about this one. I'm confused. I think they're both really good fighters. I think the inactivity and the injuries that Errol Spence has had could play a big factor. So I'm a bit confused on this one. If I'm honest, I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. I wish both guys the best of luck. They're both great fighters. and may the best man win on the night. But yeah, if I had to edge towards someone, Spence by split decision, just because I think he'll get the decision if it's close. Even if I think Ugas deserves the decision, I think Spence will probably get it. So I'll probably have to say Spence. Spence wins a split decision, in my opinion. I just don't think if it's close that I don't think Ugas will get the decision. So yeah, I'm going Spence split decision in this one. And then we've got here in the UK, we've got Conor Benn v Chris Van Heerden. Chris Van Heerden, he's a veteran. He's a guy that's, been around the block. Generally, he's seen as a guy that's, he's, how do I say this without being disrespectful? He's seen as a guy that's probably a gatekeeper to the top guys, the real top guys. That's how he's seen by a lot of guys. He doesn't really beat any of the top guys, but he's a good fighter, a very good boxer. Now, Chris Van Heerden said that he believes he's a better boxer than Conor Benn. That might be true to an extent. Van Heerden is a good boxer, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to win the fight. I think Conor Benn is an ever improving fighter. He's ferocious, he's strong, he's got good hand speed, good foot speed, he's got good power. And I think he's got the momentum on his side. I think, he should be able to beat Chris Van Heerden quite comfortably. However, Van Heerden early on might be able to box and do well in the fight. I just don't know how much Van Heerden's got left to make this fight a competitive fight. I think Van Heerden at this point might be like a sitting duck for Conor Benn. And I know Conor Benn's not faced a southpaw, so Van Heerden on point in his prime might have been able to cause Conor Benn a lot of issues. But right now with his age, and his last fight against Boots Ennis, I know it was a clash of heads, but he was getting battered in that fight, So I know Conor Benn's not Boots Ennis, but nevertheless, Conor Benn is still, like I said, he's ferocious, he's fast, he's got power, he's hungry. I just don't see how Van Heerden wins this fight. I'm struggling to see how after 3 or 4 rounds, how the fight's even competitive. I can see Van Heerden maybe first 1 or 2 couple of rounds giving Conor Benn a bit of issues, a bit of trouble. The southpaw stance, and I do think Van Heerden is a good boxer, but I don't think he'll be able to keep it up. And I think Conor Benn eventually will get to him and probably stop him. But again, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the progression of Conor Benn. I'm looking forward to what's next. They're talking about some fights for Conor Benn next. Some names are being mentioned. You're hearing the names of Kell Brook, Amir Khan, Broner. I feel like I'm not really interested in any of those fights, especially like Khan fight, or Broner fight. These are guys that are way past their best, way past their best, and even Kell Brook's way past his best. But that's probably a much better fight. But nevertheless, I wouldn't even want to see him fight Kell Brook. The fights that I would like to see him fight is a Danny Garcia fight, but Danny Garcia is probably not going to be interested in Conor Benn. Another fight that probably, they're talking about Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia is not really a 147-pounder, but that could be an interesting fight because Garcia is still a good fighter. The fight that I think a lot of the British fans want to see is Avanesian. Now, the problem is with Avanesian and the names that I've just mentioned earlier is that those guys have bigger names. They're much stellar names. They're bigger fights and probably easier fights at this stage in their career. So what they're trying to do, they're trying to build Conor Benn into a star. They know a fight with someone like Khan would get a lot of attention. Even at this point, even though Khan had a very poor performance against Kell Brook, but Amir Khan's a star. He's a huge name. Regardless of whether he's a star in boxing anymore, he's a huge name. And Frank Smith said, I still like the Amir Khan fight, which tells me that they're still interested in making that fight. And if they can make that fight, they'd make it. But the problem I have is that I don't feel that's a competitive fight at this point in Amir Khan's career. I think the Kell Brook fight is probably a much better fight. But even then, it's not a fight I would prefer the Avanesian fight. Um, what other fights could be out there for Conor Benn? Keith Thurman, that's a good fight, but again, why would Keith Thurman want to fight Conor Benn? You see, that's the problem that Conor has, is that some of the fights that we want to see, like the Garcia or Thurman fights, which would be good fights for Conor Benn, it's kind of like, why would those guys want to fight Conor Benn? What does Conor Benn bring for them? Nothing really. So it's kind of, Conor Benn's in a bit of a difficult spot because he could fight guys like Conor Brook that are way past it, but people won't be interested, especially the Khan fight. Broner's the same, like he's way past his best. So it's a bit of a tough spot because the guys that, that will take Conor Benn to that next level, they won't want to fight Conor Benn because they've got nothing to gain. They want to fight for the title. So yeah, Conor Benn's in a bit of a difficult spot. But leave your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think about this fight, about the Errol Spence fight. Leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.